Okay, so interesting. Honestly, yeah, I enjoy games in the year, stories for all games in the one some, and of course, a night for Kylian Mbappe. And I say that because Masa Mbappe, he's been doing well. I know some form reservations, but it's been good so far. 64 games for Real Madrid. 50 goals since Kylian Mbappe 2 penalty goals no boy say you know a year 50 goals in 64 games. We'll have a conversation about that. You can stories around it. You be any bomia big so na fe. Yeah, discussions se kakra and so which me sure say why enjoy game in the year pa. Of course you need to enjoy it because and then through first half, you know, I was so excited. In fact, let me start with this is myself one home before the game. Send your message in nipa ba Madrid one na me one meaning say omo traditional clubs na more support pa but me susu say on beba sa the day ye before the game na police for no omo kun tokwa no crowd we chiro ansa na me say supporters ni bi crowd person mu rush stadium mo wo mu get ticket into they say gidi anya some kito police for na bre papa. And of course Madrid for no ka say omu jan shrawan hwe ne Marseille for na babetwia for mo so nti support no omu ultra su for no so madwen so so ya bibi before the game send ye be ya Marseille will know say master enye se be John club bi na mo no mo bebo yeah Madrid. And then before the game Madrid for T for mo de ba ho no o translate the core English so say I only ask you one thing, that is you come out as champions this year. Inti referring say Madrid for supporters ne say almost radio baako e de fit team no wo say yeah best start this season Champions League boys no mo koje Champions League and from inti players ne walk at the core park no so that is the T for me so omo ready ya and ne agree omo. The lineup that I saw na yeah me one not with regard to some decisions because it been more now quite obvious to say start team na ye be hu Madrid 4 team, you know name him say Trent the be the CBA Trent benya kwan abobo ni be because coach, you know, he's been rotating kakra and did house obebo because was suspended or league anymore Champions League, you know, na I was so I was suspecting the back for the usual back for Trent Alexander-Arnold, Dean Howson as the left back. I was expecting Dean Howson and Alvaro Carreras as the left back, Dean Howson, and Militao 4 and 5. Then Chouameni, Fede Valverde in the midfield, Adagule as a number 10. And I was expecting Vinicius Juniors to start from the left. Interestingly, coach decided so about Rodrigo Goes, and it is a conversation we will have. And yeah, now because we need to have this conversation. Vinicius Junior, now what dia or Madrid park and also off the pitch, the kind of influence. Say Madrid for be a lineup. Ayan konuni dini be born face, but sa one day no, he's losing it, and it is becoming too obvious. Because I ask myself, if it is about rotation. Say rotation a coach in the area. The coach you are not rotating Kylian Mbappe. It is broke because say Mbappe a crucial player to you. So if that is the conversation, if that is the point, then what of Vinny? Into clearly, I want dear Vinny wono. Me sure. Maybe you ever quite even be best idea, but well. Anyway, so Rodrigo Goes had to start there. Mastantuano and Kylian Mbappe completely lineup. No? Now, honestly, and it's a gamer. Yes, 30, you know, the kind of pressing a Madrid for. Now, a more press Marseille for. No, Marseille for back four. And no more papa. Benjamin Pavard as the right back. On my left back, Emerson Royal. Belladini Medina. And then goalkeeper. And again, massive respect to Roberto Di Zerbi. Because one more money players name defended before the game. I remember say, "Oh, your interview because oh no, there is no way. But no baby room no kwako go echiri." Or say he was going to open up. Or better, Madrid for no, he's going to be brave in the attack. That was the thing the coach said before the game. It could have been so, or you're big, but in the game he showed it because clearly, not myself for a pass ball from the back, and the Madrid for intensity in the press, especially in the first 20 minutes, it was great. It was great. Because right from the minutes 1, Madrid for a press, killing Mbappe kwa, Rodrigo Gues DHA, Ada Gule DHA, Manstantuano DHA, Fedi Valverde, Aurelien Chouameni, they were just pressing the Marseille team into they had so many turnovers because and then Godfrey Kondobi or Bre Brutal or for bomb the ball, the man Madrid for press will lose the ball. Into Marseille kept on losing so many balls. Madrid for Intenya was say in the first half alone, goalkeeper Guillermo really or 10 saves in the first half alone. They say Champions League I'm being told they say B sir. Now just say and the goalkeeper he had to do a lot of saves because Madrid for no turnovers no money because in the first half they were pressing so well. But the whole idea for Marseille and they say Madrid for no pressing. Yes, I believe you. 1v1 situations at the amount myself because myself for front three no Mason Greenwood, Aubameyang, Timothy we are no more pace. And it's a Madrid for corner Nimbebria, Madrid for Dinhausen, Edda Militao, and you know general right back Trent H. Carvalho. We'll talk about that, you know. On the pace, Ebefa, you know, they were going to brave in attack, they were going to be brave in attack. You know, say they wanted to have 1v1 situations, which was Senebeya. Almost 10 overs from Madrid for pressing, not Madrid for gaining possession. Almost so Jibon need the free Madrid in same one. They can easily attack them. So that was the whole idea. You see, though myself was starting, no the ball in chest, but informal and sometimes like munya mumbo ball in but goalkeeper no kept on doing saves and a Madrid for so almost say chances and you know not emboda cry. But see football this is I thought it be a yes because I think say one of the scarce ban term was what can I say agree with far ball on the second minute. Over ball no so the far did house and so so running past principal be far ball need the but I mean that was some of the things as I say who's a myself for game plan no that was it right from almost so any turnovers in the second minute. But you see Madrid for go nearby you know not avoidable because another goal na olusu balls no too much on one can say no. And then minim so we uniform so snacks no mu na maintenance and the game no amfama no oye errors bebre what I say and the game no per player or lose duos bronisi duos say yaji body everything same 50-50 balls e no olusu makoma 7 so he was losing the balls in fact and ready and then adagule nioma no wen so inti huna wen so no one of those things ni bia no gingina balls so sa o gingina so enema Marseille for Mason Greenwood, Ebefa ball need different in him. Ebefa ball need different in him. The attitude after losing the ball, I didn't like it because they was expecting Fedi Valverde say on we lose the ball, Fedi Valverde no and cover no. Then he realized that Fedi Valverde also attention she did knew afei no be and again Mason Greenwood I mean solid performance. So no see far ball no or Jire Madrid for no sa actually or pass the ball na Timothy a boss go. I mean Mason Greenwood performance no was good. But you see before I even move on, Trent Alexander-Arnold, I was concerned and Trent has some obi na ye Trent na some crazy. One fine player so far Madrid and shut down for Bias. I mean I am hoping he say befa. But so far it's not been good. And 5 minutes and now or so on say we what I say into a hard game and then the 9 carbon me and some pet and then there was so free game anymore and my Danny Carvajal and so a bad game anymore. But right after the Marseille for share goal no Madrid for kept on losing balls which one of those instances okay I said Timothy we have for Bobby ball long great shot carpet shot to be. And again, it was Thibaut Courtois that saved the situation for Real Madrid. Into the sad time now, Niamama things the kakra until Rodrigo Goes, Efa Bola, Godfrey Kondobia, Echo foul na a penalty. I mean, we a clear penalty. Because me sure myself for be contexted this one. Because Kundubia, we lose ball now, we stretch your nine sana, defender no, striker na as attacking player no. Then I ball there, I mean that is quite obvious. Na a clear penalty. And Kylian Mbappe, echo foul ball ni boy. Me say myself for no. Your complaints, you know Barcelona for no no so supporting myself for no so your complaints be one of those things could do be a shot be your boy a ball militao ni sleeve no any echo na betwam wo baby no so any day we dey a penalty but referee decided say on the penalty no but what no I still felt to say na myself for the chances be because me kai back on the 38 minutes. And Obama Young and soon your chance be pounding at that militao. It's me BT militao 1v1. Minim Diana Uja for ya of say Sabon. I mean a clear chance or here screens in this one. He could have or he should have taken advantage of that situation. In the game no one casano na ya ye one back towards the 1-1 until Dani Caballal, an experienced player like you, captain of the team, you don't do this. It's embarrassing for Dani Caballal to do that. Say, goalkeeper. For Christ's sake, if the referee do not see it, you are VAR and you on the blind side of the referee, you go scot-free. This time around, if you do that, VAR, you will pay. And you expect, say, Obine Beye. Na captain e twi n'anim dressing room and then minimum what happen in dressing room as so mo we crowd the twi n'anim I say only ma the chrono ye say you don't do that. Oh, especially when you know say trying to pra also so oba be born here ade awoye. But yeah, and that because Madrid for the last time on board Sofia that the 10 against 11 away Madrid for attitude after going a man down, it was good because that time, you know, now or the Brahim Diaz, Ababeyi Manstantuano, Ed Vinicius Junior, Ababeyi Rodrigo Goes. I like the attitude because Madrid started playing well. I know me 10 men, you know. Now I expect to say myself for no crab soldier, no. Marseille won the native bar from Kakra. And on the DD Mama Vinicius Junior. Eko far bono esa oba penalty by and also so one controversial incident because Bono defender was going down and I'm born nine and I bonus and I'll do my next video whether from the perspective of the referee, from the perspective of referee no AJ penalty, which of course myself wanna say dabby. How can this be a penalty? I want to say but referee Jil Madrid, they might Kylian Mbappe, Akobo Bono, and so Eddie Ashe. Now, if you check the tall list of teams that Kylian Mbappe Ashe or more, I mean, have a look. What she said she be brave. The 50 goals no way, and the 50 goals no. Manchester City, Ajimu saying 4. Aye, but Ajimu 5. Sofia Dad is saying 3, if I'm right. And see, Yasha right from Atlanta game no, or say Betis 2. SS Sofia Dad Barco and the name of Stuttgart. You know, these are the 50 goals, Kylian Mbappe. And so Ashe Eddie Ama Club. I mean, that is very, very good. Very, very good. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, now you see, and then Champions League, you know, we've really enjoyed it because the Juventus Dortmund game and then the Real Madrid game, you know, we're also monitoring that game because at some point in time you are like, oh, Dortmund for now after winning we 4-2 there, but a game one Dortmund share na Juventus adi Karim Adeyemi share na Kenan Yildiz wonderful goal waba share na Felix Nimiencha share na Juventus Dusan Vlahovic share na Jan Kuto ashena 3-2 na film akwa 3 so am I con 4-2 as at 86 minutes Benzema penalty o shena chesa 4-2 obi enim say Dortmund win here then Juventus comes back to equalize Dusan Vlahovic again at last minute Lloyd Kelly asadi back account you know aye 4-4 yapon interesting game 8 goals in the game wow yen yanam thoughts now the other fans what I say a year pa Tottenham team, you know, and then na VRF for them prove stubborn. Goalkeeper na was brutal. Me a minim dey see. Ultimate watch ball. Why ultimate ball say James and then and farm man crash. Quite unfortunate. You know Thomas Partey every ball 12 minutes. He did not start the game. You know, but you could see the ball game in the that is the result, and also a buy. It looks like Benfica for no mama nkofo nsesi won for say won Qarabak bobo washe. Omo nkofo na betiti ahyew. Said anyhow. And the Benfica any PSV so tifie na Union for be share 3-1. But for us now, Lydia, congrats. What a game, what a team. You see, the Arsenal game also so now very interesting because Atletico Bilbao for no Champions League, boys ni bebre more Champions League only for the Atletico Madrid team, you know. Well, but for Arsenal, dear, to be very honest, and na me mo GDS Arsenal baby because Atletico Madrid na akwakoye enim ho no na akwakoye Inaki Williams Nkwa Nico, of course he's injured. What's he say? But anyway, Arsenal started with Noni Madueke, Victor Gyökeres, Eberechi Eze. When the game a bit difficult, you know, Arsenal de Leandro Trossard, Ed Gabriel Martinelli, Abem, I'm a 2 boys now by changes. Arsenal, Ashe 2, Bilbao for no intimi anti. Biggie, Kofui.
Yes, Omar started very well. Arsenal Bobo Kono, if you are looking at the kind of setup, Arsenal, Ekita, the kind of quality in their squad, Arsenal should be able to do certain things and not previously like getting consistent wins in the Champions League. Problem kaka in the previous seasons. But last season, so baby Arsenal koko duru na getting to the semi-final stage of the Champions League, a stage and Arsenal duru biya chepa. Now, some kind of year since 2006. I had been extremely difficult at the Arsenal. Some of me could do something, but last year they were there. A team a giant like Real Madrid, and so a uniform. And if you want to build upon that performance, people are expecting say you get to that same semi-final stage, or probably you cross that particular stage, especially when there be a hinder of performances last season. People feel say it's solved. Like getting you a striker, getting you a competent centre backer. Or centre backs, Arsenal has been able to do that. And it's now I feel Porto's in a team now. Yes, but it's better. Atletico Bilbao team on the other hand, last season they played in the Europa League. They weren't in the Champions League. And that consistency I'll be here at the Champions League front, that consistency I'll be here at that Champions League level, no. Atletico Bilbao team no NB. And then again, you talked about the injury of a player. I friend it's Nico Williams. He's a key player. He's a key figure in the Atletico Bilbao squad. Or a young player, but or a player by with no disrespect to the other players. He's one of the players at Team Nisio Mometri Sunibi. It is almost such a player. Other players in Swaba Bishim, Obitisa Navarro, Berenguer. Today, the performance of these two wingers is bad. But none of these two wingers and a better chain Nico Williams or Atletico Bilbao.
Very well. Yeah.
And the Omesena a bit affected him in the performance. Inaki William playing as a lone ranger. Aside say Nico any honomo. Only one keke but we're forming some partnership with Oniniano. There is some sort of understanding between them. It's a Ninian in your no quanjin any more honor. Ubenya performance in B. But to get the best of performances for him now,
well, early days yet, but Arsenal GDS afi or Mafi. Na Arsenal squad no. Any those players at the bench, Charlie, and was shit. Honestly,
sure.
So and then Arsenal bench for 1 year, 1 day. So Mama Bobby, Luis Kelly and Bobby, Saliba, Max Duman. In Waneri, I mean, Osha Omokro we prabo no mambo be Ben White, Matt Nudigard, Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Jesus, Kai Havertz. If these guys comes back, now I'm good to full fitness. Actually, can you imagine?
And Adiana Arsenal Messi last season. They are having it this season. That's quite depth.
Hey, master.
Last season at the point Arsenal he changes. Almost starting, almost free actually, but But this season, Arsenal has it.
Well,
Imagine say Bukayo Saka enya available. Vanessa Saka bar. Kai Havertz enya available. Kai Havertz bar. Omo no be starting 11 ni mu poa. Imagine these players on the bench. Ebia probably Eberechi Eze. Ebia Noni Maduike. We shouldn't forget. The team na ye di hon komo na ye ka ho asem no. Player bit say Odegaard so nya available. It is our squad depth na Arsenal need the previous season no. This time around they are having it.
Wow.
Noni Madueke Kwaku has to be consistent and then the performance then you back. But then to say the last game or boy against Nottingham Forest. And I'll give the credit to what's the player's name? Boyro. Adama Boyro. Bilbao for left back in the Kwaku. Juma Brandt and Ayel Noni Madueke Honeno. He's been good.
Well, and now Chelsea before now omo fly no. Moises Caicedo. Oba okwcha na tade na Chelsea for media team they camera scene so some say. Okobo Champions League, all-time favorite Champions League goal. There. And I say I think it was Michael Essie's goal. Sana Moises Caicedo and so Ekai. Anyway, now
Champions League, right?
Of course, Champions League. See, say go na no ye ka ho asam no. But Chelsea for akwa drew. Ebe Chelsea for omo afesu omo de koye. And see Chelsea team no. Say
with the men in black.
Men in black no omo de koye. Bayern Munich game way they are missing Jamal Musiala, Alphonso Davies, Henrico Ito, Rafael Guerrero. Chelsea MSC, Romeo Lavia, Benoit Bediashel, Levi Cowell, Dauro Isugu, and Liam Delap. You Chelsea for Anya Alan. They come. Say I can't say, maybe I won't share your previous video. We've told you, say Dario Isugu, Chelsea for a information and say you for the Maraba say, player. So onya long-term injury, ultimate now the player for free replacing and can na any wasa, but say Yama ho kwan se utimi ASA na mamenchira Champions League year boy top spenders omo ma say sika pa top spenders table ni number 1 Liverpool omo say sika wo transfer markets way Liverpool number 1 450 million pounds
team no G League no
Dr. Sumieno Chelsea 285 million pounds Arsenal tosso miensa 255 million pounds. Newcastle tosso a 250 million pounds. Enum I Tottenham was pay 181 million pounds. Manchester City 176 million pounds. Into top 6 England fonko. And so maybe actually na Champions League na could Spain and na se could fufu.
We say you almost fought some Oscar. Nyame 40 Kenya woman.
Top 6. Top 6 spenders.
And for the Premier League there, almost cow. Yes, because Oshe Premier League.
But the Kenya top 3
they spend a lot. Opa share Premier League club no. Even the middle table teams. Omo timi tu kwa nko Italy. Newcastle timi ko Italy no akofa Tonali de naba.
Yeah.
A player, Ebian can be expected to big clubs in England, Italy, no, and wasn't come for such a player. Newcastle be kono akwa fano, no the number. You see, player be a PM, it was Scotland, the more was through or yard here. Both a middle table team of England, no akwa the number. In Spain, no akwa no the number. Crystal Palace, this time around, Air striker, Omoko, Spain, Getafe.
Yeah. Uche.
So the Premier League clubs has a lot of money. Spend at the top players and I say a prospects are big even in other leagues. And Gabe expected the big clubs in those leagues and it's a form. But it is because they are financially strong.
And a press conference, let me tell Anna Slot. Now Anna Slot press conference, they kept on asking him, Sika, must spend it, say, must do baby can any boo ye say. Ubisan Century ni say Muna moto talk sports one and so TT talks because omu de bia omu komo ni nyina sika. Into I say, then a more checky sika Liverpool has spent. Moon check say almost also they've been able to generate over 300 million pounds on the transfer market. Na sika. So I say near we granny in us and such as saying for no edisika no ebe discredit performance no more no. Into we just say young nice sika and yensha born na Liverpool for Bob but so bad then away and way free.
It works hand in hand. I was say Ancelotti Jitum. I am sure he's saying they should look at the performance of the club and not talk about the money. Because if you say, oh yeah, Juma, Juma na oh yeah, necessary.
Or Champions League on Becca is a checkbook manager.
Of course, I no credit. But there have been coaches I spend their money, but I'm team performing. Manchester United spent around 600 million for Ten Hag. Then,
it's if this argument is that then I'm the checkbook manager, dear good Pep Guardiola, so sir. Because say na sort me sure so on him pass or achieve will be on make a side checkbook
and nunti na me di kind car say. So what's me? Me ya dadaba. Eti me ho ya when he time just because my papa was car. And ya me fault say can ya woman.
Okay.
Is it Pep Guardiola's fault? So wakwakonya club like Manchester City omo financially sound. No more better material be o pe bia de amano. Say on for success and family omo.
Okay.
Is it his fault?
No.
Manager be na we ase ankonya bia nkompe. So we adwuma wo team mu. Na sika bia wo pe dia to player bia wo kan ya na ye de amawo.
Well.
Obi apebi. But people talk about the monetary issue, especially when the results is not coming.
And they will say it. Anyway, and a slot, some more bisa no say Alexander Shaq bebo biana, and I'll say 100% the wait me a catcher and say on 90 minutes, name or John say be a moment in a few minutes be a while. Your next video, bas is Yanga Hopon and on to the next video. Big Yankopon and Shrabi. Bye bye.